Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is a 76th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put on to YouTube. The team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Uther, who has bought the Rome Brutii faction. We then have a Brotherhood member Mystique, who has bought the Greek Cities faction. We then have Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks, who has bought the SBQR faction. Steve Longshanks is a long-time member of the Brotherhood and has recently started to come back to RTW. Him and myself are the two players that actually started the 31k game on Rome Total War. So it's nice to see Steve back. And the fourth member is myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Germania faction. This is a faction I bring now and again for something a bit different, and I always kind of experiment with that army just to try and tweak it a little bit, see how good I can make it. So that's our army. Should be a great battle to watch. I thought at this stage of the battle, I'd pause the game and let you have a look at my my Germania army here. As you can see, it's not that big an army. And it consists of the chosen axemen, who are effective against armour and are great to use against Rome, because obviously the Roman infantry are very well armoured, so the effective against armour axemen are great. Then we have the Knight Raiders, and these guys have got a fear factor where they actually instill fear into nearby enemy troops, and they're tough infantry in their own right as well, so they're pretty good as well. And then we have the infamous Berserkers. Now the Berserkers are based on real historic characters. As some of you have seen my other battle videos, you know that Berserkers used to either take a cocktail of drugs or alcohol. Some of them even had mental health issues. And even out of battle, these men were men that were avoided by people because they had like kind of a menacing presence about them. And in this game they're they are very tough. They've got effective against armour maces there, as you can see, or clubs, and these guys are extremely tough and got a massive fear factor and can cause enemy troops to rout. And then we have the Germania Gothic Cavalry. These cavalry are very underestimated. If you look at their specs, you'll see that they're some of the best cavalry in the game, and they're very tough, and they're great to have to charge into the enemy army there to complete a rout. And then we have the chosen archers. They've got really long range and do a lot of damage. So that's my Germania army. It'll be interesting to see how well it does against really good players on the other team. Yeah, should be a great watch. And here is the other team. Here we have Heaven Elita Legionnarii, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. Then we have a Brotherhood member Spartan Leonidas, who has bought the Rome Julio faction. Then we have COH Phlegathon, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. And then we have Spider Pig, who has bought the Carthage faction. Now he may well have bought the Carthage faction to either counter Germania, as you know that Berserkers and the Germania troops in general would die quickly fighting pikes, or he may well have bought the Carthage army to fight the Greeks. We'll have to see. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at Brotherhood member Mystique's Greek Cities army here. As you can see, it's quite a wide formation here, with a lot of the units actually spread out quite wide rather than have them in thick, tight groups. As you can see, Mystique has got two Pillar Shield units in front of the main battle line there to soak up the enemy pillars. And as you can see, it's an all Spartan infantry army with 3 Cretan archers. And as you know, the Cretan archers have got great range and do a lot of damage. So it'll be interesting to see how the Greek Cities army does here. And as you can see, the enemy has actually put the Carthage army in front of the Greek Cities army, obviously with a view to counter the Greek cities with that Carthage sacred band. If you notice, the Carthage general has put 3 sacred band sacred band unit at the rear. Now my guess is he's done this because he knows that pike units kill Germania infantry very quickly, and even the Berserkers. So my guess is he's putting those 3 units there in readiness to throw in to any of his Roman allies there that might be attacked by Germania. So that's a good tactical move there, if indeed he does that, because as a lot of you know here, that Germania attacking pikes is pretty bad for Germania. They die quickly. At this early stage of the battle on the right flank, you can see that Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks has done a flanking movement right there, round to our right flank. Probably with a view to try and turn that Carthage army that's there. But if you notice, the enemy have now sent over some Scipii reinforcements there to help their Carthage ally. Also, if you notice, there's a lot of Scipii cavalry, 6 units there, almost ready to charge in to Steve's flank. So he has to be very careful there. But if you notice, he's got his cavalry just behind his infantry in readiness for that. So he'll be prepared for that. Also, if you notice, Steve's got 3 units of archers there, which I'm sure are firing loads of arrows into the flank of the enemy infantry there. If you notice, the Carthage enemy Carthage pikemen are moving forward with a view to engage Mystique's Spartan army there. And if you notice that Mystique has pulled back there, probably trying to entice that group of Carthage pikemen forward, where maybe she might be able to surround them. Meanwhile, over on our left flank here, you can see that Uther is starting to advance towards the enemy Scipii infantry there. And if you notice, my Germania army is just stood at the back there trying to avoid any archers. As a lot of you know watching this, Germania is very susceptible to archer fire, so you need to keep them out of range of archers for as long as you can. If you notice in the centre now, that big group of Carthage pikemen are pushing forward in a big massive group, if you notice that. And my guess is what Mystique's going to do here is to start bringing units around the flank and if possible the rear of that big bunch of Sacred Band there, to try and attack from different angles, because at the moment it seems to me that the Carthage general is trying to, if you like, punch a hole through Mystique's line there with that big bunch of Sacred Band pikemen, which has got massively high upgrades on as well. So I think Mystique will have her hands pretty busy there trying to stop that Carthage Sacred Band pushing through the centre there. Meanwhile, over on the left here, you can see that I'm moving my Germania army a little bit more to the left. And if you notice that Uther now is starting to attack the Scipii army in front of him now. Now, it's very important that you have good allies when you're Germania. I'm just going to pause the game here. If you notice that I'm just charging my army in now, and the reason I'm charging my army now is because Uther is attacking very aggressively the enemy Scipii in front of us, and what I plan to do is to charge my infantry in through Uther's infantry into the enemy Scipii infantry. If you notice that the Scipii cavalry he's put his cavalry at the back there, and this is a standard counter tactic to Germania, because what he'll do is, as my Germania army hits his infantry, he'll charge his cavalry in a hope that he'll cause such mass casualties of my army that my units will start to rout. So that's kind of what he's expecting to happen there. So we'll just have to see what happens as my my infantry hits, but just watch out for his cavalry attack there. As you see in the centre here, the Carthage Sacred Band are pushing through this Mystique centre here. Like I said, he's like kind of trying to punch a hole through Mystique centre there. And over on our right, Steve Longshanks is fighting enemy Scipii infantry and some Sacred Band pikemen as well. And also the enemy cavalry out there seem to be almost ready to charge in at any time. So that's an overall picture of what's happening at the battle at the moment. Let's see what happens in the next stage. As you can see, my Germania army are charging in, and let's see what happens as they hit. Right, as you can see, I'm running forward now through my ally Uther's infantry and smash straight into the Scipii infantry. Now the Scipii cavalry, well, I would think we're charging almost immediately now. Now they're seeing that I'm actually hitting their troops, and there you can see the Scipii cavalry now are charging in. If you notice that my berserkers have just been activated, can you see their red flags flashing on and off? So now, as you see the Scipii cavalry charging in, they're causing lots and lots of casualties there to my infantry. And if you notice, I'm charging my cavalry in as well now to counter that Scipii cavalry, and also to assist with the charge of all my army. So I've got 3 berserkers, all my infantry and all my cavalry now are charging into that left flank. If you notice that there's some Spartan Leonidas is Julii infantry behind, has been brought over to help his ally. But if those Roman enemy Scipii infantry start to rout in numbers, and that will lead to a chain rout, and you could see all the Julii infantry as well as the Scipii infantry routing all in one. We'll just have to see. There, have you noticed now?
Your general is in his grave.
All the enemy units on that left flank are starting to rout. If you notice there, my general's just been killed. Now, those of you that know about barbarians will know that barbarian morale is not very good anyway, and if you lose your general, it lowers the morale even more. So that was a bit of a mistake by me, letting my general be killed there. I'm just hoping that my army will still be able to keep fighting even though he's been killed. If you notice now, we've routed all the units basically on the left. With that big massive infantry, Roman infantry hit, and my Germania army charging in there. Meanwhile, over on our right, you can see Steve Longshanks is fighting the enemy Scipii army there, and is doing quite well there at the moment. But that cavalry, that enemy cavalry, looks like it could charge in at any time there. Steve's fighting well, but I'm sure he'll be aware of that. And as you can see, the berserkers now are charging into the Carthage general. Can you see the berserkers charging in there with their effective against armor axes? Now there's a close-up of them actually fighting. If you see, they smash enemy troops up into the air with the impact of those effective against armor axes. And even though that fighting pikemen head-on is not a good thing for any of the Germania forces, I think in this circumstance it seems to be working. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see the Carthage general get killed at any moment. There's the Carthage general. Can you see I've got my arrow on him there? He stood in the centre. He's the last one of that unit left, I would think. And bang! They've just killed him now. So that's the Carthage general. And of course, when the general dies there, the troops' morale will start to lower as well. And of course, as I said before, the berserkers got a fear factor where they instill fear into nearby enemy troops. So with the Carthage general dead and the berserkers charging, I wouldn't think it'd be long till they start to rout. As you can see here, the Germania army are now charging in with my ally there, and it seems like we're routing the last of the enemy troops there. And as you can see, most of the enemy troops seem to be routed now.
The enemy warlord lies dead. Now he can drink with his
those berserker units are extremely powerful, and are very really do help the Germania army rout so many Roman armies. They're so tough. They're actually so their specs are so high, and their morale is so good, and that fear factor they've got really does help. As you can see, the last of the Rome Scipii cavalry are now routing, and I think looking at it now, it looks like our team has managed to win this battle. But it was really well played by everybody in it. As you can see, there's a heck of a lot of dead on the battlefield, and if you notice that the dead are spread out over quite a large area, so it goes to show how the battle was being fought from flank to flank through the centre. There was no kind of one massive area where everybody was fighting. It was kind of spread out all over the place. And as you can see, there's a lot of dead there, but if you look at all over the battlefield, you can see that there's dead. So it was a really all over the battlefield battle, if you know what I mean, and it was a great battle to be in. I would just like to say really well done to everybody in the game there. That was a great battle to be in. I'd just like to kind of draw your attention to my Germania army there. Can you see it's only a small army there in comparison to everybody else? But if you look at the kills that small army's got, it just goes to show you how powerful a Germania army can be. when used with good timing, good tactics, but above all with good allies. If you notice that Uther charged all his infantry in to that enemy skip line in front of us, and then I charged my infantry in behind that, through his infantry and straight in. And because of the timing, the tactics and the teamwork there, that's how we managed to get such a massive mass rout as we did. So if any of you out there that's seen this would like to try Germania, remember it's a really aggressive faction. Don't try and be defensive with it. It's really aggressive. You need to have really good allies that understand how Germania works, and then you can probably get mass routs like you've seen today. I would just like to say really well played to the other team as well. If you notice that there's a couple of players there that have got extremely low kills, well, if you notice when you watch the battle, you would see that those two were the two that got hit by the mass rout, by Uther and my Germania army hitting them. So they didn't get a chance to kill many of our troops because they were routed so quickly by Germania. So you know, when people fight in Germania and they get low kills, it's not surprising because they get routed so quickly. But I thought the other team played really well, as well as our team, and really well played to our team as well. I thought our team played extremely good, and I thought Uther was absolutely great there, understanding how Germania worked and really helping me to cause like a mass rout on that left flank. So it was really great battle to be in. Just thought I'd show you the battle statistics here of my Germania army. If you look at the warlord alone has killed 130 enemy troops, and if you go down the list you'll see what each unit has done actually in kills. Can you see cavalry and the berserkers, the chosen axemen and the night raiders? You can see the great kills that each of those units have got. And I thought this might be quite useful for anybody thinking of using Germania. You can see if you like which units have had the most kills, and maybe it give you an idea on how to use them more aggressively. I think with Germania, the more aggressive you use the units, the more damage you do to the enemy team and the more likely you are to get a rout. So hope you like the statistics.